Hey there, it's Tarita, and this coaching session is for you if you want to learn how to be a barrier to being busy. Because as leaders, we need time to think, we need time to be strategic, we need time to be innovative, and you can't do that if you are in back-to-back meetings. And even saying back-to-back meetings, I'm already tired. And I know what I'm like when I'm in meetings on Zoom and calls all day and I haven't had time to eat. I haven't had time to rest. I haven't had time to just integrate what I picked up and what I learned today. I am not being my best self. I'm showing up to calls. I'm more sluggish. My brain isn't working that well. I don't have so much crispness in my thoughts. So that doesn't serve anybody, and we don't want to do that. So this video is going to help you. All right, so the first thing is that we vote with our calendars. If it's important to us, it's on our calendar. And most of the times we are putting other people's agendas and their wishes and their wants and their projects, and we are making that ours. We don't want to do that. So my first bit of coaching is, where are you on your calendar? Where is the time for you? Where is your lunch break? Where do you go for a walk? Where do you take your exercise? Where do you just slow down and just start to take notes and integrate and reflect about everything that you've learned? Where is your time to be innovative? Where is your time to plan? You want to make sure that that's on there before anything else is. Because in my experience, when I take time out to just slow down, to think, even if it's 10, 15 minutes, it serves the work. It serves the people I'm talking to. It serves the work that I'm doing. It just creates more of a robust conversation because I'm fully committed and I'm not thinking about things that have nothing to do with what's happening right now. So make sure that you're on your calendar. And here's what that is not: scheduling over lunches, scheduling over time that you've already set aside. If you're a person who does that, you really want to start looking at your boundaries. All right. Number 2, priorities and choices. What are you choosing to prioritize? Most of us are choosing to prioritize things that are not going to benefit us in a way that is supportive to the work that we're doing. So especially if you're someone who feels like your calendar is running you and you have no control and you triple and double book yourself, how does that even work? How does it work? I know clients who do that. I've seen people who do that. They'll have 3 meetings. It's like, are you going to jump in and out of each one? No, it doesn't. So you want to have more discernment. Where am I going to add the most impact? Where will I add the most value? What's going to be the best use of not only my time, but everyone else's time? All right? So schedule yourself on your calendar, priorities and choices, and agreements versus expectations. This one is a little tricky because most of us, me included, we walk around having a lot of expectations of ourselves and other people. We expect people to be on time. We expect them to deliver good work. We expect them to drop everything and focus on a project when we ask them to, right? You will actually, leaders do this a lot. I tend to see people will just sort of dump stuff on people's plate and then say, hey, you can get this to me by tomorrow or today at 5 p.m. And we don't ask them, okay, but do you have time for this? Like, is this possible? What are you working on? But we just expect them to do it, right? You want to be a leader who can build agreements with people. Because when we have agreements, it requires both parties to show up. So for example, instead of just giving someone a project, or better yet, if I'm receiving a project and someone says, I need this tomorrow by 5 p.m., I may say, okay, can we slow this down? Because I have 4 or 5 things on my plate. How important is this in relation to these other things that I'm doing? That could be a question you ask. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this to the business? When's the latest that you can have this by? All right, can we agree that I will get this to you within the next 2 days? And for me to do that, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. So we want to start having more agreements with people versus just having expectations that they will be able to follow through. You could even ask someone, what's the biggest challenge that you foresee in completing this by 5 o'clock on Friday? That's going to give you a lot of insight. And then you can make an agreement around that. Okay, so can we agree that if you have this by this time, and I will give you X, Y, and Z, right? It just requires more people to show up. So you want to make sure that you are having more agreements and less expectations, because expectations generally aren't communicated. And then when people don't follow through, when people don't deliver on the expectation that we have, we end up being upset about it. So the more agreements you have, the better off it is, and it creates a much better culture. And then finally, we spend a lot of time, especially in Western society, valuing being efficiency and being productive, or valuing efficiency and being productive. It's kind of like hustle porn. Always wanting to be busy, always having to do something. And my question would be, okay, but how does being busy serve you? And how does it limit you? And what is it preventing you from? A lot of times people use being busy, especially at work, burying themselves at work to avoid some other area in their life. Or my personal life may be struggling, but I'm going to put all of my focus into work because that's where I feel more powerful. That's where I get my self-worth from. That's where I feel enthused and invigorated, which is totally fine. I'm just wanting you to consider that there may be some greater consequences that you haven't slowed down and thought about. And work is a place where feedback is instantaneous. It's just like if you're doing good, you get a high five. If you're doing bad, you know about it. Except our personal lives tend to be a little more murky. There aren't that many clear lines of delineation. You don't really get a gold star at work. So you don't get a gold star at home. So if I were you, I would really start to question, what is being busy blocking me from? What am I trying to avoid possibly? Why am I valuing efficiency and productivity over my own health or my own ability to be clear-headed? How is this supporting me, if it is, and how is it not supporting me? I think that if you really start to slow down and look at these, making time for yourself on your calendar, having stronger boundaries with people at work, having more agreements and expectations, prioritizing and choosing what you want to prioritize versus what you think you should prioritize. Anytime that you're running shit on yourself, it is depleting because you're creating a version of yourself that actually doesn't exist and then comparing yourself to it and finding yourself lacking. So if you want to be a barrier to being busy, if you want to be someone who controls their calendar, at the end of the day, it's about boundaries. And boundaries can be one of the best things that have ever happened to you because boundaries teach people how to treat you and how to show up accordingly. And if you don't have boundaries with your calendar, I come from a world where, your desk drawer looks like your closet, looks like your trunk. Like how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you don't have boundaries with your calendar, more than likely you don't have boundaries at other places. And you get to look at that, all right? So at the end of the day, it's all an experiment. We want to experiment with having a stronger calendar. We want to experiment with putting ourselves on the calendar, having more agreements, having less expectations, and most importantly, scheduling time for you. Because we need you to think, we need you to grow, we need you to be more innovative, and you are responsible for creating that environment. All right, so get to it. Bye.